Hi, it's Lisa here and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and for those that are new to my channel, welcome as well. So in today's video I wanted to give you some tips on emigrating to a new country. So myself and my husband have actually emigrated to New Zealand from the UK, and there's quite a few things that we've learnt along the way that I think will help you as well. So the first tip is actually making sure you're emigrating for the right reasons. There's a lot of push and pull factors when it comes to emigrating, but make sure that you know yourself and you're not just leaving the country because things are bad at home, or it's bad in your career, or it's bad with your family, anything like that, because wherever you go, you're going to take the same problems with you, even if you're halfway across the world. So you need to make sure that you're emigrating for, the right reasons. It's going to improve your life. It's going to enhance your life in some way. When you have decided that you want to move and you know which country that you want to move to, the best thing to do is to do as much research as you possibly can. This is in terms of the cost of living, your salary expectations. Will you be able to use your qualifications in a job, or will you have to train up? What's the cost of housing and food? Are you going to be better off or worse off? And this will lead to things like, is it actually worth bringing things over here? So for instance, from the UK to New Zealand, is it actually worth buying your appliances here, or is it worth shipping them over? And of course it's going to take 3 months to get here. So all those things you need to consider beforehand and do a lot of research. We did as much as we can. We probably didn't do as much as we should have done. So there's still gaps in our knowledge when we got here, but it does help to talk to other people that may have done it, and also just go on Google. There's lots of questions and answers there as well. One of the things that people do is actually they visit the country before they decide to move here permanently. You could go on holiday and do like a recce of all the schools and the jobs and where you'd like to live. We didn't actually do that. I'd never been to New Zealand before, and Dave had been, but he'd been on a holiday to certain places, and Christchurch was one of those, but he was only here for a short period of time, so again didn't really know if it was the place for us. Again, this is where your research comes in handy, because you can have a look at all the different places and decide whether you're going to do a holiday or not. Obviously, if you have a holiday and it's anywhere as far as New Zealand, it's going to cost quite a bit of money, so you do have to consider that as well. Is it worth just coming over, or is it worth doing a holiday visit beforehand? Now that you know which country you are going to and you've done as much research as possible, then it's time to minimise everything that you can at home. And by that I mean just sorting out your junk basically. And we all have little bits of junk lying around. There's stuff in the spare bedroom, there's stuff in the cupboards, there's things in the garage that you've not looked at for years. So it's basically going through every item bit by bit and either giving it away, recycling it, reusing it if possible, or selling it, or if it's no good and it's broken, actually taking it to the tip. But actually trying to minimise as much as possible, as far in advance as possible. That's one of the biggest things I would recommend. We only had a 2-bedroom flat and it was rented, plus a lot of the furniture inside was the landlord's. We didn't have as many things as other people have. However, it still took us quite a bit of time to ruthlessly go through each item and decide what to do with it. If you do decide to sell items, that can take months in itself. Listing things on eBay, going to car boots, that can take a long process as well, so make sure you do it in advance. Only take what you need. So by doing the research, finding out whether you need to take items over to the country, and by minimalising things as well, it will give you a better idea of what you actually need to take. So shipping is quite expensive. You know, moving to a country is expensive in the long run, and deciding on what you actually need to take is one of the main things you need to do. You know, are you going to take the whole set of furniture or not, or are you just going to take the minimalistic approach and buy things when you get there? In our experience, we decided to get rid of a lot of stuff, and as I've said, that's because we didn't have that much, so it made sense for us to slowly buy things over here. So we've got a bed, we've got a sofa, and then there's things that we'll continue to buy, like maybe a chest of drawers, bedside tables, but again, we're only going to buy it as and when we need it, and at the moment, you know, we don't need it, so that's what we're doing. Please be aware that time will run away with you. It will just go so fast. So when you have an idea in mind of when you're going to be emigrating and your flights are booked, just try and do as much as you can as soon as possible. So, you know, sorting financial things out, your documents, everything that you can possibly think of, just try and do as soon as possible, because before you know it, time is just gone. And because in the last few weeks you are really, you know, you're struggling with time because you're packing up, you're seeing friends, you're saying goodbye to family. It just goes really fast, just believe me, it does. And that leads me to sorting out your paperwork before. So as I said, try and do as much beforehand as you can, but in terms of paperwork, things like cancelling subscriptions, maybe cancelling your phone contract, making sure your addresses on everything are changed. So for instance, we've had to get our post redirected to my mother-in-law's address and other things like that. So unfortunately, I still have to sort out a couple of things, which means added expense for me, because I need to make sure I ring people now from the New Zealand over to the UK, and obviously that's going to be a bit costly. Also, I have to make sure I do it at like 8 or 9 p.m. at night or early in the morning because of the time difference as well. So yeah, make sure you sort out as much paperwork as you can before you leave. Another thing to consider is also making sure that you set up as much as you can for the country you're moving to. So things like a bank account, maybe your house rental, and buying a car. These are things that you can actually do before you even set foot in the country. There's ways to set up the bank account, so you've pre-applied for it, and then you set up an appointment for when you do arrive in the country. Again, make sure that you do that in advance so that you have an appointment on the date that you want. We kind of mess this up a little bit because we took time to arrange that, and we arrived in the country on the 6th of March, but we didn't get our appointment till the 8th of March. And we were also buying a camper van, so that kind of crossover time of 2 days, it might not seem like a lot, but we had to try and organise things around the bank appointment and also then trying to get our van. So yeah, just try, if you can, just try and set up it beforehand. As you come closer to your emigrating date, so the flight, one of the things I would recommend is getting all your paperwork together. So by this I mean your passport, your flight details, if you need to have a flight out of the country. Sometimes you also need your bank statements and a record of the funds, because some countries want to make sure that you can afford to live here until you start work. Also a visa, if you need your visa, make sure you've got all the paperwork for that. Other things that may be helpful are your qualifications, so copies of your certificates, maybe a CV in case you're looking for a job, and also maybe some references if you need those as well for your house rental or looking for a job as well. With emigrating, you need to be realistic and set your expectations of what it's going to do to you emotionally and physically. You know, it's not going to be all roses when you get to a new country. There's a lot of planning and hard work that goes into emigrating. So make sure you've set your expectations at a certain level. You know, it's going to be very emotional as well. It's not just moving down the road, you're moving to another country. So obviously things are going to be very, very different. It's going to take some time to get used to that as well. If you can connect with people before you move, that would be a really great idea, because then they may be able to help you out in terms of sourcing a rental, maybe visiting it for you, or suggesting places to rent, you know, the best areas. We've actually got friends in Christchurch, so that helped a lot because we could talk about where was the best place to live, what we should do. Another good place is maybe Facebook groups. We're part of one, which is Jen Morris 1000 Words, and she's really been helpful to discuss moving to New Zealand, and there's lots of people in that group that help us out, so we can ask questions, they ask questions, and it's a really good group to find things out about New Zealand. Another tip about moving to another country is that you must be committed to emigrating. You must be committed to going there. You can't just do it on a whim. Obviously it's very expensive and it's emotionally quite draining, but you can't go with the expectation that you're going to be leaving as soon as you arrive. What we've done is we're making sure that we're living here. There's no going back within 2 years. There's not making a decision within that time. We're committed to being here, to being at our job, to bringing up a family and not going back. And yes, that could be hard, but that's what we're committed to doing. And if after those 2 years we have concerns, then we would still stick it out, because, you know, 2 years is still a short amount of time in being somewhere. You still have to settle down and make the community yours. So yeah, you need to be determined that you are going to stay and that you're not just going just for the fun of it. Obviously, emigrating is not for the faint-hearted, and I've already said it's going to be quite emotional, but also it's going to cost you financially as well. So it is going to cost a lot of money. Even just getting over here, it might cost about £10,000, plus all your living expenses and putting deposits down on rent. And also, if you're not being able to start your job straight away like us, we're having to obviously pay for expenses and live off of our savings. So it is going to put us on the back burner for a while in terms of finances, and you have to make sure that you're capable of that and that you're aware of that, because if you had stayed in your country you might have gotten a bit further ahead, but when you emigrate it is going to put you a little bit behind as well. So you do need to be aware of that when you emigrate. And the last tip that I'm going to say is that you need to try your best to settle in. It is going to be hard. You know, we're going through this experience at the moment of trying to settle into a new country, a new town. We don't know many people here. We're taking in new things and embracing everything that's different about this country. We're trying to get out and about and exploring our surroundings and talk to as many people as possible. So the settling in process will be long, it will be different, but it's just making sure that you're open, basically not comparing everything from where you've come from. So it would be quite easy to compare the UK to New Zealand, and I have done a video about that actually, but you can't keep comparing it because you're in a new country and things are going to be different. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Obviously there's some positives about emigrating, there's some things that may set you off on a downward spiral about emigrating, but it is a big decision, and it's a decision that can change your life for the good or for the bad. So you need to make sure that you research it and it's definitely what you want to do. All I can say for myself is this is what we've wanted to do for quite a while now, and we're actually living this dream. And I know it's not going to be easy, it's going to be very hard sometimes, especially with the homesickness, but this is what we're doing, we're living it, we're enjoying it, and if we didn't do it we would have regretted it. And again, I do hope these tips have been helpful for you. If you do have any comments, then please leave them down below, and if you've not already, please subscribe to my channel. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!